All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Happy Friday, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone, and we're coming to you live from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide toll-free, 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media, X Zone Radio TV, and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. And of course, you can always listen to past shows by going to our archive page, and that's xzonepodcast.com. First of all, we're going to be talking about social media this hour. Question is social media dangerous? Can it be overcome? How do we stop bullying on social media? But we're going to tell you 3 ways to make yourself quotable on social media. My guest is Dan Wick, and everyone loves a great quote that can dispel pages of text into one line or two, usually, 140 characters, which is perfect for the bite-sized posts shared on social media, says award-winning author and college teacher Dan Wick. There's no shortage of websites devoted to some sort of best quotes and histories. Unfortunately, they're usually coupled with a spammy type of advertising links that easily distracts from profound messages, he says. Joining me now is Daniel L Wick. And Dan, welcome to the X Zone. And tell us about a little bit about your book, The Epidemic of Epigrams or an Avalanche of Aphorisms.
Well, I had started years ago writing down aphorisms and epigrams, which are exactly the same thing. They're brief, usually witty, occasionally profound observations on life, love, death, philosophy, religion, and everything else. And I collected these over the years and decided to publish them in a book just because these were things that would come to me at any time. I didn't really try to practice writing them. They would just pop into my mind. I'd write them down. So I wrote things like, he is as honest as the day is long, but the days are getting shorter. And I enjoy privacy, even from myself, and so on. So it's a series of observations, all of which are rather brief, and there's a long history of aphorisms and epigrams, beginning with the Greeks, and so it's a literary form that is used and it continues today, actually, in the form of a lot of comedians use one-liners of this sort.
Of course, Benny Goodman was known for his one-liners. You know, take my wife, please.
Yeah, right, exactly. Sure, and then there's one that I like particularly from George Carlin, who said, it's called The American Dream, because you have to be asleep to believe it.
Now, that is so true. And George Carlin, one of the all-time greats.
Oh. Well, yes, and he was somebody who played around with words all the time. It was sort of the basis of his comedy. So, there are all kinds of comedians, but really good one-liners have to stand by themselves. So one I recall is by Woody Allen, in which he said, I am two with nature.
Another one of the great of all times. As a college teacher, are you seeing more and more people using the social media as a form of communication instead of just going up to somebody and talking to them?
Well, I'm now retired, but I do in fact encounter people who communicate almost exclusively by social media, especially Facebook, Twitter as well. But Facebook seems to be so far the one that people use the most, and a lot of it is, as you know, rather trivial things like
it's garbage.
What I did today.
Who wants to know that you went to the dentist? Like, come on.
Exactly.
I find people are being dumbed down by modern day technology. Like, you don't have to be smart to communicate anymore.
Oh no, not at all. In fact, I would say almost all of the conversations that I read, even from my friends, I don't. I try to use Facebook as little as possible, but I do have certain family and friends, and they themselves, of course, have other people that they communicate with on Facebook.
Dan, we're going to have to take a 2-minute commercial break. Please stand by. X-Zone Nation, Daniel L Wicks is our special guest. His website is tinyurl.com/PZSQNZA. I'll be back on the other side of this 2-minute commercial break as we continue talking about Facebook and other social media. With each new extreme weather event or terrorist act, it becomes increasingly obvious that we live in uncertain and challenging times. We all buy car insurance. Why not collapse and catastrophe insurance? Matthew Stein, an MIT-trained engineer and green builder, has written 2 outstanding books to help people prepare, plan for, and deal with everything from minor situations lasting a few days to full-on collapse. Matt's first book, When Technology Fails, is a manual for self-reliance, sustainable living, and surviving the long emergency. This massive book covers the gamut from first aid and emergency preparedness to alternative healing, renewable energy, primitive living skills, and 18th century technologies that could be critical to your comfort and survival in a long-lasting crisis. Matt's second book, When Disaster Strikes, is a comprehensive emergency preparedness handbook and survival guide. When Disaster Strikes is an essential item for every family's go bag. Both books are available at all usual sources. There's a wealth of totally free information posted at whentechfails.com, and author-signed copies may be purchased at mattstein.com. That's www.whentechfails.com and www.mattstein.com. Named one of the world's greatest psychics, Elizabeth Joyce is now giving readings worldwide via Skype. Elizabeth Joyce is recognized for her clairvoyant ability to help find missing persons, her analysis of dreams, past life regression work, mediumship, and her accurate predictions. Elizabeth has been a frequent guest on the X-Zone radio show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, now for several years. For an appointment with Elizabeth Joyce, call 201-934-8986 or Skype at elizabeth.joyce. And for more information, you can always visit Elizabeth Joyce online at www.new-visions.com.
Do you have a dis-ease that you would like to alleviate through a natural means? Have you been contacted by angels, ghosts, or even extraterrestrials and want to validate these experiences? Or would you simply like to speak with someone who can help you find your life's purpose? I'm Dr. Joseph Mara, and I'm offering my services free of charge for first-time clients contacting me during the month of April. These free consultations include angel card readings, guided meditations, life coaching, and energy healing. If you have always wanted to explore these types of experiences but were skeptical or simply could not afford them, then take advantage of this free special offer. Contact me through my website, aguidinglight, spelled LITE.com, to schedule your consultation today. Until then, I offer you love, light, and laughter.
I don't know, I'm kind of scared, Exo Nation, when you think of a society that bases its communication abilities and communication skills using smartphones, the internet, and other handheld electronic media. What happens in the event of an electromagnetic pulse that wipes out all the cell towers, like we've seen happen recently with solar flares? These people are going to be walking around with either their thumb up their butts or their heads up their butts because they won't be able to communicate. How will they live? Yesterday we had Stephen Fogel on talking to us about the addiction rates that are being noticed with smartphones. People are addicted. I, for one, do not understand it. If I have something to say, I would rather say it to the person, to their face, or like I do 4 hours every day here on the radio, talking to you and bringing our guests on, letting them communicate. Sure, we use Facebook to let our listeners know who's on the show and how they can listen to the archives of the guests we've had on. We do the same with Twitter, YouTube, MySpace. It's a tool. But in today's society, especially the younger people, are using it as a lifeline because they don't have to face anybody. They can hide behind the anonymity that is given to them through the biggest septic tank in the world, and I'm talking about the internet. To me, we are going to be facing a major problem in the future when it comes to actual communication. Avatars are going to replace people. Virtual reality is going to replace the real world. People are going to wake up and fall asleep in the virtual world because they will not be able to cope with reality. And Dan, that scares the hell out of me.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I find very peculiar about this whole trend is people texting rather than talking on their phones. And practically everybody I see, I live in Oakland, San Francisco area, and everybody I see who has one of these phones is not talking on the phone.
No.
Usually. Sometimes they are, but usually they're texting. So why are they texting? You know, I mean, it seems to me like texting is far more complicated. I've certainly avoided doing it myself, since I'm pretty clumsy at that kind of thing. Why not, go? I know texting gets through if somebody is on the phone and speaking, but you can always leave a message.
Well, of course.
And they can call back. I mean, I just don't understand it, and particularly, texting while driving seems to me totally insane. I mean, even speaking on the phone while driving is bad enough, but texting while driving is crazy.
I know exactly what you're talking about. We have a 19-year-old granddaughter that lives with us, and she walks around with her smartphone in her hand, whether she's eating, whether she's watching TV. She always has the smartphone in her hand, and she's using it. And I find it just infuriates me. Like, put it down. If you're coming to the supper table, I don't want to see a smartphone. I don't want to see an iPad. I don't want to see anything except your face, you. When you go to restaurants today, my wife and I went and had a nice dinner the other day at the Keg. We're sitting down, we're talking, and she said, look around. Everybody's at their table texting, not talking, texting. Like, come on.
They're not talking to each other. They're texting other people altogether.
Yeah.
So what's the point of the two of them being together? I mean, since they're not communicating with each other, they're communicating with a third and fourth party in that case.
Dan, I'm telling you, there was a table with about 10 people, a group of friends, and they're all texting. They're not talking, they're texting.
That's crazy.
Like, it is.
Yeah.
And you know, when I hear about these bullying cases that are using the social sites and social media and what people are getting away with behind the anonymity of the social medias and how upset people are getting because the government wants to start regulating and putting checks and balances in place. Well, you know, you're taking away their freedoms.